The KD1 Kinetic Drive APB plugin by McDSP provides direct control over real analog saturation circuitry within the APB processing hardware. KD1 saturation can be focused on a specific portion of the frequency spectrum and comes with 3 saturation circuit configurations: FWD, RWD, and AWD, each of which saturates different parts of the frequency spectrum in unique ways. Additionally, KD1 saturation kinetics are adjustable, and original and processed signal levels can be linked together or set independently. Like all APB plugins, the KD1 parameters can be saved as a preset, automated as needed, and recalled instantly. Let's check out each of these controls in more detail, and then hear some audio examples. First up is the biggest knob on the UI, the drive knob. It applies gain to the signal before hitting the distortion and directly controls the analog gain in the APB. As the gain increases, the responsive kinetics, another control we'll discuss later, will also increase. Next are the 3 silver buttons in the middle of the UI: FWD or front wheel drive, RWD or rear wheel drive, and AWD or all-wheel drive. FWD selects a more treble-centric saturation response, while RWD selects a bass-centric response, and AWD provides full-spectrum performance. Each selection also chooses a different analog distortion circuit in the APB, so have fun experimenting. Now let's cover the knobs on the right side of the plugin UI, starting with Kinetics. Kinetics is a knob that controls analog-like behaviors, such as tube-like compression and voltage supply reaction. Turning Kinetics to its minimum value eliminates the contribution and produces a less dynamic sound, while its maximum value will produce a more dynamic sound. This knob's effects are most obvious on long-sustaining audio, such as vocals or guitar, and you can use the voltage meter to gain a visual understanding of how Kinetics is performing. Below Kinetics are the focus and focus amount knobs, which work together to highlight the sound of the KD1 in a specified portion of the frequency spectrum. Focus sets the frequency range that the plugin will highlight, while focus amount determines how aggressively the frequency range chosen by the focus knob will be highlighted. The final parameters on the KD1 are wet, dry, and wet-dry lock. Wet controls the output level of the processed audio, and dry controls the output level of the unprocessed audio. These knobs can be adjusted individually to create various types of parallel processing effects. Once a good mix has been dialed in with the wet and dry knobs, click the wet-dry lock button and move the wet or dry knob to adjust the overall volume at the plugin's output stage. Finally, before we hear the KD1 in action, let's go into more detail on the plugin's level, voltage, and temperature meters, all of which can be found at the top of the plugin UI. The plugin's level meter is in the middle. By default, it displays the level at the plugin's input stage, but the meter will display the level at the plugin's output stage if the Out button is selected. To the left of the level meter is the voltage meter, which gives insight into the Kinetics behavior by showing what the power supply system is doing. The livelier the meter, the more the harmonic edge is moving. Finally, the temperature meter at the top right corner of the plugin UI displays the internal temperature of the APB. Now it's time for some audio examples. We'll be starting by putting the KD1 on a drum bus. Let's hear it with and without the plugin. This track is a great example of how easily the focus and focus amount knobs can get you a variety of saturation tones. In this case, we have the focus amount cranked all the way up to 12 dB and the focus knob is set to 1.3K. This is helping the room sound pop a lot more, but these knobs are capable of much more. I'm going to move the focus knob around the frequency spectrum so you can hear how many other tonal possibilities they bring to the table. To round out this example, we also have the Kinetic knob all the way down for a more aggressive sound. The AWD model is enabled for an even saturation across the whole frequency spectrum. The dry signal is blended in parallel to help us retain the punch of the transients, and the drive knob is at 70%. Next up is a bass guitar that sounds great, but since this is a rock mix, I want it to have more grit. Let's hear how the KD1 is helping us out with that. Overall, the settings for this example are pretty similar to the settings from the previous example. The dry sound is being blended back in parallel to keep us from losing low-end fidelity. The Kinetic knob is all the way down to keep the saturation dynamically consistent, and the focus and focus amount knobs are accentuating the saturation by 4 dB at 1.4K for some extra grit. Finally, a drive setting of almost 100% and the AWD mode are also working together to help bring a whole new vibe to this bass. Now let's hear the KD1 on a vocal. For this example, the KD1 is being pushed pretty aggressively and the plugin is completely transforming the sound of this vocal. It might sound overbearing in solo, but notice how it blends in perfectly when we drop it in the mix.
Don't call my phone. I don't wanna hear a ringtone. I want it to. I'm doing what I wanna do. Leave me alone. Out and I'm chilling on my own. I'm on my own time. I don't wanna hear from you. Don't call my phone. I don't wanna hear a ringtone. I want it to. I'm doing what I wanna do. Leave me alone. Out and I'm chilling on my own. I'm on my own time. I don't wanna hear from you. Don't call my phone. I don't wanna hear a ringtone. I want it to. I'm doing what I wanna do. Leave me alone. Out and I'm chilling on my own. I'm on my own time. I don't wanna hear from you.
For this sound, we're focusing on 1.2K by 8 dB, processing the wet and dry in parallel, using the FWD mode to emphasize the sound of the saturation in the high end, and the drive knob is up at 85%. Like the other examples, the Kinetic knob is all the way down to get as much grit out of the KD1 as possible. However, vocals and sustained instruments like guitar are a great opportunity to hear what the Kinetic knob does as you change its value. Notice how the saturation affects all parts of the vocal with the Kinetic knob all the way down, but turning the knob up will allow more of the vocal to breathe without getting too gritty.
Don't call my phone. I don't wanna hear a ringtone. I want it to. I'm doing what I wanna do. Leave me alone. Out and I'm chilling on my own. I'm on my own time. I don't wanna hear from you. Don't call my phone. I don't wanna hear a ringtone. I want it to. I'm doing what I wanna do. Leave me alone. Out and I'm chilling on my own. I'm on my own time. I don't wanna hear from you. Don't call my phone. I don't wanna hear a ringtone. I want it to. I'm doing what I wanna do. leave me alone. Out and I'm chilling on my own. I'm on my own time. I don't wanna hear from you.
As you can hear, with the help of the Kinetic knob, the KD1 makes it possible to dial in a beautiful, responsive, and dynamic saturation sound. Our final example is a guitar track. Let's hear it before and after adding the KD1 in and out of the context of the mix. In this example, we're adding a bit of grit to a clean electric guitar. Notice how the KD1 is not only capable of aggressive distortion sounds, but it's also great for making it sound like the gain knob got turned up a bit on a guitar amp. This time around, we're emphasizing 1.8K by 11.4 dB with the focus and focus amount knobs, and we have the FWD mode enabled. These settings ensure that our guitar stays nice and bright. Again, the drive knob is almost all the way up, but this time we're only hearing the wet, saturated signal. The KD1 is the perfect addition to the APB plugin catalog. Whether you're after an absolutely mangled sound that's unrecognizable compared to what you started with, or just some subtle analog saturation to help a track cut through the mix, it's got you covered. Interested in learning more? Check out McDSP.com/APB to learn more about the APB and all of its plugins. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more McDSP tips and content. Also, feel free to use the links in the description to follow us on other social media platforms. We will see you next time.